What is unconditional positive regard? Have you ever wondered how do we build trust and intimacy with our clients? How do we actually go deeper and build a sense of greater rapport? How do we actually honor the person that's right in front of us? Well, in today's episode, we're just going to cover just that. Now, welcome to Coaching Changes Life. So glad you can join us in this coming week, because this week we got something really special for all of us to learn. And many coaches have asked me, hey Jedi, can you tell us more about trust and intimacy? It's something that we all kind of know. It's something that we all need to have in our conversations. But how do we actually create rapport with our clients? How do we actually go deeper with them? How do we actually create such a connection with them that makes them feel that they are loved, that makes them feel that they're cared for? Well, the secret really is this notion of unconditional positive regard. Unconditional positive regard. Now, too often, many coaches come and approach me from all over the world and ask me, hey Jedi, can you share me a little bit more about what the ICF competency really is and means for me? And I'll encourage all coaches to watch this video, because it's not just for coaches, but also for speakers, leaders, communicators. As long as you're conversing with someone, whether it's an individual or to many, this will be a very important message for you. Now, what if you're watching this by chance and you're saying, hey, but I'm not a speaker, I'm not a coach, I'm just me by myself, I'm just randomly scrolling through the YouTube channels. Well, stop. I want you to join us watching this video as well, because unconditional positive regard begins with you. If you can give yourself the unconditional positive regard, you begin to experience life in a whole new dimensionality. Now, what on earth is that? What do we mean by unconditional positive regard? Let me read to you what the ICF describes as for building trust and intimacy. That is your ICF core competency number 3 that is going to be found in your ICF competency rating list as well. Let's take a look at this. It says this. It's the ability to create a safe, supportive environment that produces ongoing mutual respect and trust. So setting a strong foundation up front for partnership with the client, establishing expectations for an open, honest relationship, demonstrating integrity, confidentiality, respect, and support, holding the client in unconditional positive regard. Holding the client in unconditional positive regard. So what on earth is that? How many of you have read the ICF core competency rating list but have never really paused and reflect on them that they said? Now, I teach my students all the time. In our classes, we go deep dive in many of these concepts, whether it's in mastering coaching, that's our ACC level program, or team leadership performance coaching, that's our PCC program, or neuro-linguistics programming coaching, there's also an PCC program. At every level, even our MCC level program, we have an ACDP program that's MCC level, we also cover trust and intimacy. Why do we cover that again and again and again and again and again? Because the fundamentals of coaching only can happen if you have a client. A coach without a client is not a coach. For the conversation to really happen, you need to have the client there with you. And how do you build that trust, the respect of the client? By first honoring this fundamental principle, the principle of unconditional positive regard, respecting the human being for who they are. No sense of judgment, no sense of imposition on them, no sense of, oh, I'm better than them, no sense of higher than thou kind of attitude, but really coming in with full humility to learn and to explore the client fully. I, as a coach in the conversation, I'm not better than the client. In fact, in the coaching conversation, I'm honored to be part of the client's journey, to really explore the client, what's really happening in their world for them. So let's take a look, let's go deeper to understand the roots of what do we mean by positive regard, and how they all came about, and how do we actually use them and experience them in our coaching conversation. Now, so stay tuned. You want to watch this all the way through the end, because at the end of this video, I'm going to share with you some practical tips that you can use in your conversations right now. So let's take a look at this. The beginnings of positive regard. Now, where did it all first came about? It all came about through the works of Carl Rogers. Carl Rogers was a humanistic psychologist, and he was a really famous guy during that period of time. And he was doing a lot of therapy work with a lot of individuals and helping people find great breakthroughs. He lived during the times of 1902 to 1987, and in 1959, he purported and shared this view that for a person to growing internally and externally, they need an environment that provides them with genuineness and openness and self-disclosure, a sense of acceptance, being seen with unconditional positive regard, that's the word there, and empathy, being listened to and understood. So 3 key areas: genuineness, acceptance, and empathy. GAE. So this is what we always tell coaches to remember. GAE, genuineness, acceptance, and empathy. This must have for a person to grow internally. So in genuineness, what we say by this is openness and self-disclosure. Now, many of us, we have lived with ourselves. Do you know which is the longest relationship that you have? It's with yourself. That is the person that you've been living with for your entire lifetime. But when was the last time you came out to you? When was the last time you were being honest with you? When was the last time that you were real with you? Nothing to hide, nothing to shield, but just you being you with yourself. When was the last time that you could be naked with yourself to really share what you're really truly feeling? Not with any facade, not with any form of a beauty, not any form of makeup on, but just you with a pure conversation with the individual to experience a deep connection. That's genuineness, a sense of openness and self-disclosure. Number two, it's what we call acceptance, being seen with unconditional positive regard. And what do we mean by acceptance? Now, to accept someone, to accept ourselves, it's to acknowledge that, hey, it's okay to be us. Every single person on planet Earth, the 7.6 billion of us, all of us have 7.6 billion unique individual identities. We may believe somewhat in the similar things. We may have similar values at times. We may have dissimilar values. But what makes us uniquely us, it's for us to be able to accept ourselves for who we are. And sometimes the reason our clients come to us like this is because nobody seems to accept them. Nobody seems to understand them. And you often hear this language, nobody understands me. My parents don't understand me. My teachers don't understand me. Society doesn't understand me. Even I don't understand myself. How do I move on with this? So therefore, the fundamental roots of coaching always begins with a person-centric approach in coaching. Coaching, it always begins with the person, the whole of the person first, the totality of the person, drawing from the greatness of the person and working from there. It doesn't begin with the solution, though the solution is what we're going towards, but it always begins first with the person. Person before performance, because who's driving the performance is the person. Person before profession, because who's driving the profession is the person. So personhood, it's going to be critical in the coaching process. Now, let's take a look deeper. What do we mean by all this? I want to share with you 5 characteristics for a fully functioning person. Number 1, it's open to experiences, both positive and negative emotions accepted. Negative feelings are not denied, but worked through rather than resulting to ego defense mechanisms. So it doesn't mean that negative feelings are bad, right? We could actually use them to support us. Number 2, existential living, in touch with different experiences as they occur in life, avoiding prejudging and preconceptions, being able to live and fully appreciate the present, and not just always looking back to the past or the future or forward to the future, and living for the moment. Number 3, trust feelings. Feelings, instincts, and gut reactions are paid attention to and trusted. People's own decisions are the right ones, and we should trust ourselves to make the right choices. Now, even if you make a choice, and even if it's a wrong choice, but at least you make a choice. The last thing we want is to be stuck and not being able to move forward. Next, number 4, it's creativity. Creative thinking and risk-taking are features of a person's life. A person does not play safe at all time. This involves the ability to adjust and change and seek new experiences. And number 5, fulfilled life. A person is happy and satisfied with life and always looking for new challenges and experiences. So this is what Carl Rogers was saying when he looked around people and said, these are 5 different elements that will make a fully functioning person, or a person who has a greater sense of wholeness, totality. Now, for some people, maybe there are other areas. Some people, they may not agree totally in this. They may have their own notion of what makes them a whole person. We respect every single person's worldview. Whatever it is, we as coaches, our role there is not to judge the other person, but our role there is to just be a mirror to reflect to them, to be a person that's there to listen to, right? And a chance for them to open up themselves, and a chance for them to actually articulate, for them to hear themselves once again, so that the client gets clarity in the whole process. Now, when we look at this, one of the things about positive regard and self-worth is that how we think about ourselves and see ourselves and our feelings of self-worth is important to our psychological health and overall wellness. So why is this important? Because at the end of the day, our mental wellness is just as important as our physical wellness, is just as important as our monetary wellness, is just as important as our family wellness. Your mental state will always determine your physical state. because your internal state will always drive your behavior. So too often, when I see organizations say, hey, we need to send our staff for more resilience training. We need to send our people for more adaptability training. We need to send our people for more teamwork. I said, before you send all those things, those are behavior modification. Get them acquainted with themselves. Help them to understand themselves much better. The better they understand themselves, the more aware they are of themselves, the better they are in navigating through life. The great blindness that's happening over all over the world is the blindness of self. The blindness of self. The blindness that you're not able to see beyond the veil that's in front of you right now. So too often people say, hey, Jedi, this person's like this, that person's like this, that person's like this. We are very quick to judge, but we are very slow to listen. One of the secrets in the whole process of coaching is this. If we truly believe in coaching, we as coaches should be the person full of largeness of heart. We should be the person who's there to listen. We should be the person who's there to really hearken our ears, to listen attentively to what our clients are saying. Honoring the space, giving them the hope, and really holding the space for the client. And that's going to be a really important process as well. Now, I'm going to share with you two aspects of this. One is called conditional positive regard, the other is called unconditional positive regard. And what is the difference and how we as coaches can use them in our conversations today? The first thing is conditional positive regard. This is what it says it is. Conditional positive regard is where positive regard, praise, approval depend upon the person. For example, behaving in ways that the parents think are correct, or societies think are correct, or communities think are correct, and hence the person is not loved for the person for who they truly are, but on condition that he or she behaves only in ways approved by the society or people or parents as such. At the extreme, a person who constantly seeks approval from other people is likely only to have experienced conditional positive regard as a person. So it's a conditioned response. So if you do good, I reward you. If you don't do good, I don't reward you. That's a conditional positive regard. So you reward good behaviors, you don't reward bad behaviors. Now, is that good or not good? Is that the right thing organizations should do? Now, what if organizations are just based on a carrot and stick approach? How would that affect the entire repercussion of downstream? So one of the things that I do, many organizations engage me to help them with their HR functioning, the human resource functioning. How do they design a payment, a system, a scheme for them to really go deeper with the clients? Well, the secret is this, to have this thing called the next thing, which is unconditional positive regard. So this is what it is. It says this, unconditional positive regard is where parents, significant others, coaches accepts and loves the person for what they are. Positive regard is not withdrawn if the person does something wrong or makes a mistake. The consequences of unconditional positive regard are that the person feels free to try out and make mistakes, even though this may lead to getting it worse at times. And people who are able to self-actualize are more likely to have received unconditional positive regard from others, especially the parents in childhood. So this is really interesting. It's about acceptance. Unconditional positive regard is about accepting the person as who they are. Someone can come to you and say, hey, I'm from this background, I'm from this race, I'm from that culture, I'm from this, I'm this gender, I'm that gender, I'm from this belief, I'm from that belief. I hold them in a positive regard when I am unconditional with my love for them. I love them for who they are as a human being, right? At times, I may not agree with certain actions and behaviors they're doing, but that doesn't mean I'm denying them of their person. For example, too often we mix up the person's actions with who they are. We mix up the person's actions for who they are. Just like, for example, when a little child saw his pants, well, we change the pants. We don't throw the child out, right? So when we look at this, actions are not the person's. It's not who the person is. Actions is the outcome of a belief or of a pattern within the person. So when we have unconditional positive regard, what we are saying is this, that we truly trust the person for who they are. We give them acknowledgement. We accept them for who they are. There may be behaviors that we don't quite agree on, but that's okay. But we're just honoring them and giving them the space. We're saying, hey, you know what? I love you as a human being. I honor you as a person. Let's go through this whole process together. And there's no sense of judgment. So even my words, even the choice of words that I use, I'll be really careful. I'll be really judicious with my words. I'll be prudent with my words and how I engage with them. That it doesn't come across as judgmental. It doesn't come across as hateful. It doesn't come across as racist, or a sense of I'm higher than the person. But it comes across as we are co-creating this experience together. And in that process of acceptance, now we allow the person to feel, hey, in this process, in this conversational flow, you can be accepted. You can be loved. There's no one there. We are loved. You are truly loved in this process. So what we do in this unconditional positive regard, one of the practical things you can do as a coach is this. When the client comes to you in front of you, what I want you to do is this. Look them in the eyes. Okay, don't stare too long. Just look them in the eyes and give them a smile. Let them feel a human-to-human connection. And then continue the conversations. And what you want to do in the conversational process is that notice and calibrate to them. Calibrate to them. So some cultures, they don't like people staring at them too long. So you can look up, look down, look side, look everywhere, right? Look away. Sometimes, in some places it tells to look into the person's eyes. Yes, that may prove to be true in some parts of the world, but some parts of the world, if you stare at the person's eyes for too long or stare at the eyes too much, it makes them feel very intruded. It makes them feel that the boundaries has been broken up. So be mindful of the culture diversity around the world. We are living in a world that is so culturally diverse that we need to honor different spaces. So what I do is this. Even if I never met the person or the culture for the first time, I observe what's happening for them. And I try to be like them. The more I be like them, because people like people who are like themselves. People don't like people who are not like themselves. So I honor and respect the situation where they are. I accept them for who they are. I allow them to voice out fully. If the client is hiding things on the inside, then I probably have not allowed myself to voice it fully. So what I want to do is to allow the client to feel that, hey, you're free to be yourself. You're free to voice your heart. You're free to voice whatever that's inside your heart, right? There's no sense of attachment. You can be you. You just be you. Okay, so unconditional positive regard, there's few parts, which is unconditional. Unconditional means there's nothing that's conditioned on it. It's not conditioned of how good you are, how rich you are, how poor you are, which backgrounds you're from. It's all conditioned based on you, right? There's no condition at all. It's the condition, it's in unconditionally loving the person. Today, let me ask you this question. When your client sits in front of you, are you conditionally loving them or are you unconditionally loving them? Are you loving them for who they are, looking past their mistakes, looking past their behaviors, and seeing them as a human being, as someone to be loved? That's my challenge to you as a coach. From a coach to coach perspective, how are we loving our clients today? How are you honoring that space? How are you holding that space for them? How are you smiling at them? Try this out today. Unconditional positive regard. Share me your thoughts, share me your ideas, and share me what happened in conversation today when you begin to slow down, when you begin to engage them in the heart and the core and the spirit of coaching. So try this out. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't remember to hit the thumbs up and share this with your friends. And until next time, this is Jedi here at Coaching Changes Lives. I hope to see you at one of our programs soon, whether it's in our ACC program, PCC or MCC program, or our other programs that we help coaches from all over the world to become better conversationalists. Until next time, we'll see you in our next video.